Good afternoon. Okay, looks like I am live. Good afternoon, Carol Buckalew with Inky Stampers. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and I have a pretty little card for you today made with the Thoughtful Wishes bundle and the beautiful, let me see here, Thoughtful Journey 6x6 Designer Series paper. Oh, that's not the only paper I use. Let me grab the other paper. So you always think you're prepared. Hey Faith, thanks so much for joining. And then you realize you're not really prepared. I also use the Thoughtful Designs 12x12 Designer Series paper. This paper is just beautiful. It's got like embossing on it, and it is just gorgeous. And it comes in Cajun Craze, Calypso Coral, Lost Lagoon, Misty Moonlight, Mossy Meadow, Petunia Pop, Pretty Peacock, and Wild Wheat. And the paper, oh, it is gorgeous, Faith. The paper has like an ombre effect. So it kind of, they're 12x12 sheets. Hello, Mary. Thanks so much for joining. So the 12x12 sheets, you know, it kind of starts lighter in one corner and then darkens as it moves down the sheet. But just beautiful. As is the Thoughtful Journey paper, just beautiful. So I have kind of a fun technique here, and I'm going to kind of move this card around. Okay, see that little bit of shine? So this is a floating window technique. These strips from the Thoughtful Journey paper, I cut 1-inch strips, and then I glued them to a square of acetate. And then the whole thing is popped up with dimensionals to give it a little bit of lift, hence the floating window. Hello, Sharon from West Texas. Thanks for joining. So I'm going to get a little bit of stamping out of the way, and let me grab, I've got an extra little, oh, thanks so much, Mary. I appreciate it. I was kind of tickled with how the card turned out. And Mary, you inspired me to make this card. You had made a card, I think a few weeks ago, using the Thoughtful Journey paper, and your whole card front was covered with strips, and which created a whole scene. And I just thought it was gorgeous. And so that's kind of what inspired me to make this floating window card. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. And if you're not familiar with Mary's cards, she makes gorgeous cards all the time. They are beautiful. All right, I have my inside panel, my envelope, and my teeny tiny little sentiment label. And we'll just get a little bit of stamping done here. I'm going to stamp the sentiment in Pretty Peacock, if I can get it open without getting ink all over myself. That would be awesome. And the Thoughtful Wishes stamp set comes with red rubber stamps, so they stamp beautifully. I will tell you that this particular stamp is, oh, of course, Mary, it's the truth. It's a little hard to line up because the script kind of goes up and down. But I'm going to do my best here, and I'm going to move it towards me a little bit. So if I'm out of frame, I apologize. And let's see if we can't get this centered on the first go. We'll see how I do. Oh, thank you, Sharon. Appreciate that. And I'm going to take it. That looks pretty good to me. And I'm going to just set that aside. I'm going to keep my Pretty Peacock ink out. And I'm going to bring in some Wild Wheat ink. So the paper that I used from this Thoughtful Journey is Pretty Peacock and Wild Wheat together. And surprisingly, hold that up a little closer, surprisingly, those colors are gorgeous together. Just gorgeous. So, well, I don't want to lose that. All right. So I'm going to take the large leaf image from the Thoughtful Wishes stamp set. And go ahead and ink that up in Pretty Peacock. And I am going to stamp it off once. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp it here in the corner of my panel. And I didn't want kind of the full strength ink. I just wanted it stamped off. And then I'm going to repeat that for the envelope. And let's stamp it right about there. All right. I'm going to close up that Pretty Peacock. That is a dark ink. And we know how dark ink likes to stick to our fingers and then get on everything. And I'm just going to use my chamois here. This is damp. And I keep my chamois in an old stamp set case, and it's perfect to keep kind of the sponge wet for a little bit longer. And I just want to stamp that off and make sure it's kind of dry before I dip here in my wild wheat ink. So this is wild wheat, and I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to ink that stamp up. I'm going to stamp off once, and then I'm going to stamp right over that first image in wild wheat. And that will nicely coordinate with our designer series paper. Hey, Rosie, no worries. You're baking cookies. Do you have granddaughters at the house? Is that why you're baking cookies, or are they coming to visit? Or you're just baking just because you felt like it? Oh, hey, Amy. Thanks so much for joining. All right, and then I'm going to do the same for my inside panel with the wild wheat. And that is it for the stamping. So I can go ahead and set these things aside and get rid of this scrap paper. All righty. So here are my pieces for my card. I have an 11" by 4 1/4 card base, and it is scored at 5 1/2. And then I've got a piece of the, yeah, see, I already forgot the name. Good grief. The Thoughtful Design Designer Series paper, and this panel is cut to 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. So that will completely cover our card front, and I'm going to go ahead and get that put onto the card front. No granddaughters, you're making them for a lawn crew. Oh, you're so sweet, Rosie. That is so sweet. I know that you regularly take goodies to doctor's appointments to give out to the staff and whatnot. I think that's so kind of you. Very nice. All right, I'm going to just go ahead and I'm kind of just tapping my card down to make sure that I get this panel on straight, and hopefully I have it on straight. I don't see any edges on the reverse, so I think I did a good job. All right, so that is our card front. And let me just cap this glue here for a minute. And then I've got a piece of acetate. And this acetate square, I know it's hard to see on the video. There you go. This square measures 3 1/8 by 3 1/8. And I'm going to tell you why it is that odd measurement here in just a second. And then the mat that is going to sit behind the window is 3 3/8 by 3 3/8. So the reason that I made my acetate square 3 1/8 inches instead of an even 3 square is because, let me find my little strips of paper here. I wanted a 1/16 inch gap between my designer series paper strips. And these strips were cut so that they are continuous, meaning that, you know, I need to glue these down in the order that I cut them so that the grasses kind of line up with each other. And I'll hold this up closer in a minute. I know it's hard for you to see, but I wanted that at least 1/16 of an inch gap between the strips. So that's why the square is 3 1/8 inches. So long explanation for I've got something on my acetate. The acetate marks very easily, and when you apply glue to the back, you want to keep the glue towards the center, because when you press this paper down to the acetate, it is going to spread out like crazy. And you don't want to get glue on your acetate if you can help it. I will tell you that I did get some on mine, and it is not easy to get off. It's kind of like, you know, getting glue on gold foil. Like, you never get it off. It's just kind of smudges and smears. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my first strip. These strips are slightly longer than the width of the acetate. And I'm going to go ahead and just, I want the edge of the top of this first strip to be flush with that acetate. And I'm just going to give it a good press here. And it really wants to slide, so you need to be patient and just give it a minute to adhere. And I don't know if you can see how much that glue spread out on the back, but it really does spread quite a bit. And if I kept pushing, it would keep spreading. I do want to make sure. Okay, good. All right. I think I'm good. Just checking. Okay, so that was the top strip. This is my middle strip, the bottom strip. I'm going to adhere the bottom strip next. So the top strip, bottom strip, and then that will allow me to get even spacing on that middle strip. And again, I'm putting this glue towards the center of that little strip of paper. And we'll go ahead and get it put down here. And I need to pick this up and kind of make sure that it is, those edges are flush with each other. And just give it a good press. And I can see, let me see here. Give me a minute, I'm fiddling. Okay, that looks like it is even. Now we can put our middle strip on. So what kind of cookies are you baking, Rosie? I haven't made cookies in a while. I need to bake some here before the weather gets too hot. Not that I need to, I want to. I don't need to eat them, which is what I will do. All right, and so what I'm doing with this middle strip is I'm just splitting the difference there between the top and bottom strip. Give that a nice press down when it looks good to me. And with the acetate, you do get a little bit more wiggle room than you normally would, but I do want to make sure that it is somewhat straight, and that looks pretty good to me. But you can see that the pattern on the paper continues up, you know, and follows the strips up, which I think is really just a lovely, lovely effect. Cap my glue here. And then because these strips, hey Karen, thanks so much for joining. No worries. Monster cookies, no flour, oatmeal with chocolate chips and M&Ms. Well, they sound delicious. Wish I could sample one, Rosie. These strips were slightly longer than the acetate square, so I'm just going to turn this over and very carefully trim those strips flush with that acetate. And just take your time doing this. You don't want to cut your square. And I'm having trouble actually seeing it. Let's try that again here. I need it turned just right to the light so that I can see it. All right, I think that side is good. Let me get the other side. Yeah, those sound really good, Rosie. No flour. That's interesting. What holds it together? Jump in my private jet? Yeah, I don't think so. That's not going to happen. So what holds them together? I'm curious. So if they don't have flour, are they gluten-free then? All right. So I've got my ends trimmed up, and that looks pretty good. Let me just get rid of these scraps here. And I'm going to go ahead and adhere. Yeah, you do. Liquid glue. What do you mean, Mary? Is that what's holding the cookies together? The oatmeal, a little Karo syrup, gluten-free. Awesome. Wow, that's cool. All right. So when I'm gonna pop this acetate panel up with Stampin' Dimensionals. So I think it goes without saying that you want to put your dimensionals on only where the strips are, not where the gaps in the strips are. So not here, but along where the strips fall, where they've been glued down. And we'll get a few on here. I'm going to kind of put 2 in the center there just to support that. It holds everything. You're right, Mary, it does. I used that liquid glue. I was mounting a diamond painting on a cotton canvas, and I had painted the canvas just a solid color. And then I used glue, the green glue, right? The Tombow mono liquid glue. I used it to adhere the diamond painting. It was a small painting, it wasn't big, to the canvas, and it held really, really well. So yeah, that glue is awesome. Alrighty, just pick off the little dimensional covers here. And I'll go ahead and get this mounted to its mat. And then we can go ahead and, now this is a little tricky, just because I want to make sure that I'm getting it centered and even. And I just noticed that I need a little bit more of a trim over here. Glad I caught that before I stuck it down. All right, let's try this again. But I'm just trying to get an equal reveal all the way around. And I think that's pretty good. Alrighty. And then that is going to go onto our card front. So we can go ahead and just glue this onto the card front. And peanut butter. Yeah, peanut butter makes everything stick too. Ask my dogs. They get peanut butter, a little bit of peanut butter every morning when they take their allergy pill. And the older dog, she gets so much saliva in her mouth when she gets peanut butter that she can't get the peanut butter down. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's so slick, her mouth, that she can't get the peanut butter down. And she has this habit of course, we're in the kitchen when they get their pill. She has this habit of licking the cabinet door or the front of the dishwasher, like just so she can lick a surface to get the peanut butter down. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So I'm always forever having to wipe down the cabinet door and the dishwasher. And, oh, I can't break her of it. She's a mess, that one. Our Mackenzie, she's a mess. All right, let me go ahead and just put the inside panel in the card here, since I got the glue out. I try to use Seal Faith, and I do use it. I use it a lot for like adhering ribbon and that kind of thing. But yeah, I do like my liquid glue. And I didn't have a mat on the inside of the card here. Just a panel and just the stamping of the leaves, no additional sentiment. This is a thank you card, by the way. And then I had pre-die cut, and this is from the Thoughtful Wishes dies. I pre-die cut this little flower sprig here. And I left it in white, you know, because there is some white in this paper here. And I just thought the white kind of set it off nicely. Now, this is how I got glue on my acetate panel. So don't do like I did. I'm going to try to be sparing with this glue. Had I thought about it, which I never do, I would have used adhesive sheets, but I never think of that when I need to. And I'm just trying to put a tiny dot of glue kind of where there are bigger gaps in those flowers. Maybe a little bit along the stem there. And so when I put this down, I do not, and what I'm actually going to hold it because I think I was trying to get my tweezers to release, and I think that's how I smudged the glue when I put it down the first time. So I want it kind of pointed in this direction. So I am going to just carefully lay that down, not let it move, so I don't smudge glue on my acetate where I don't want it. And I'm just kind of holding that in place there for a second. And I think I was successful, so yay. So that's good. All right. I'm going to take set that card aside for a minute. I'm going to take a length of linen thread, probably way more than I need. And I'm going to run this thread through my thumbnail and my fingernail a couple of times just to straighten it out. And let me grab my scrap paper back. This is well-loved scrap paper. And I'm going to take a Stampin' Blend in Pretty Peacock, and I'm going to use the brush tip of the pen, and I am going to color my linen thread. And the way I like to do that is I just hold the side of that marker down and just carefully pull that thread through. And I'm not going too fast because I want that ink to absorb into the thread. I've got way more thread here than I need, I know. And then I'm going to do it again because it takes a bit to kind of absorb into those fibers on the thread. And the thread kind of twists and turns. So I may give it one more pass after this as well. All right. Who's available for a taste test? Oh, Amy, I know. Don't those cookies sound delicious? Wish we were closer. You're always baking, Rosie. I like to bake, but I don't bake all the time, but mostly because I would eat it. All right, let me see here. How did I do? I'm just going to kind of turn this thread just to give a look. A couple of spots that don't want to color. All right, I'm going to just kind of set that aside for a minute, give it just a second to dry, and since I'm waiting for that and I'm nearly done here, I'll go ahead and put my coordinating piece of designer series paper onto my envelope flap, and we are almost done. Sounds like my husband just got home from work. So it is starting to warm up again here. We got really cold, and so the temperatures are starting to warm up again, thank goodness. I think we're at 68 degrees. It warmed up quite a bit. Compared to what it's been the last couple of days, it has been quite chilly. So I'm glad that things are warming up. I did hear that there's going to be a tornado threat. I think Thursday through Saturday, kind of in Tornado Alley, Oklahoma, Arkansas, I think. I'm not sure what all states are going to be affected, but that happens every spring. Alrighty, I think probably my thread is dry enough now. We got our envelope all done. I'm going to kind of set that up so it can dry. And I'm just going to tie a simple kind of loopy bow with my linen thread. And when you color thread with, oh look, yeah, it wasn't completely dry. So I now have a pretty peacock ink on me. Well, that's all right. But when you color thread with an alcohol marker, it tends to make the thread a little stiff, but that actually kind of helps you tie the bow. I'm just going to trim those ends off. I don't need them that long. And this bow is going to go right about like that, right about in there. Actually, I need to get my little sentiment label. Isn't this the tiniest little sentiment label? Dropping to the 50s tomorrow in New Jersey. Yeah, it may cool off here tomorrow, but then it starts warming back up again, I saw, so that's good. I mean, it is, you know, for crying out loud, it is almost May. It needs to start getting warm. Alrighty. And I am going to mat this little tiny sentiment label up onto a piece of pretty peacock. I love that look. I love that matted look on the sentiment labels. I just think it's pretty. And so you'll see me doing that a lot. But the reason I wanted to get it matted up was so that I could kind of see where my bow needs to go. So my bow needs to go right about there. So I'm going to take just a little bit of Stampin' Seal and try to get it. Gosh, I can barely see it. And it doesn't want to come off the roller. Hopefully I got enough on there. And I want my bow at an angle and right about there. But the Stampin' Seal tends to not create as much bulk as a mini glue dot. I like to use the mini glue dots, but the Stampin' Seal actually, you know, creates less bulk. So that's why I like to use it so much for ribbons. And then I'm going to go ahead and maybe get a couple of Stampin' Dimensionals here. And hopefully I'm not going to hit my ribbon. I know that, well, that didn't look like it was going to stick. I know that, you know what, let me put that one there. So maybe I won't hit that knot in the middle. And let me just make sure. Oh, that one's a little close. Let me move that real quick. Got it a little too close to the edge. And just kind of give it a little test fit. I think that one's in the way. Carefully peel that off here and let me see if that helps. Yeah, that helps. Okay, we're good. And then if I need to slide a little piece in, I can. And I am going to try and get an equal distance here around my sentiment label in the corner. Okay, that actually feels pretty good. So that is our card for today. Floating window, super easy. I love the technique. I've seen a lot of people do the floating window in a circle form, but I really like this. And this paper just makes it. But before we go, I wanted to just let you know that Stampin' Up! I don't usually print out flyers to show you guys, but I wanted you to see this. Stampin' Up! Is going to be having a join promotion in the month of May, so from May 1st to May 31st. So you'd pay the normal $99 for your starter kit. you would get $125 in product for that $99. The kit ships for free, but in May, if you join in May, you also get these 4 products, which is an $82 value. These are all the new colors. All the new in colors. Say it right, Carol. And so you get all 5 new in color stamping pads, a variety pack of the cardstock, the 6x6 designer series paper for the new in colors, as well as the in color Stampin' Right markers. This is a phenomenal deal. So if you think, you've been on the fence maybe about joining Stampin' Up, come join our team. We have the most awesome team. There is no pressure to sell. You can join just simply to get the 20+% discount once you join. But starter kit, $99 in the month of May, $125 worth of product that you get to choose in that kit, plus these 4 items listed here, the new in colors. So that is an awesome, awesome deal. The clearance rack has also been refreshed, and so make sure you go out and check the clearance rack as well as the last chance product sale. I checked the last chance products, and they are quickly selling out. Lots of things selling out. So you definitely, and the clearance items are going to sell out quickly as well. I forgot to put my little gems on. These are the adhesive back pearl trio gems, and this color is supposed to be pretty peacock. They're iridescent, and they do have a greenish tint, but aren't they lovely? They are just so beautiful, and I thought they'd be real nice on this card. And let's put one right there. Now we're finished. Now we're done. All right, so that is my card for today. I want to thank you so much for joining. Oh, thank you, everybody. No, Sharon, it is not a choice of one of those groups. You get $125 worth of product plus these 4 items for $99. That is one heck of a deal. And I've got a customer who I'm going to be working on. And hopefully I can convince her to join, because it's a really good deal. I mean, you're getting the stamp pads, the cardstock, the DSP, the Stampin' Right markers, plus whatever you choose, for your starter kit, $125 worth. So that is an amazing deal. Listen, everybody, thank you so, so much for joining me today. You can see the pretty sparkle in that paper. I will be back next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Amy and Mary, you guys have an awesome trip. Safe travels. And I will talk to you all later. Bye-bye.